All right, welcome to our Friday Flex. This is your host, Keith and Joseph.
Hey.
We're flexing with you on this nice Friday, the last Friday of the month. Good Friday. Not Good Friday, but it is a good Friday.
Today was a good day.
Today we're going to talk about having fun at life, and we'll go over just a brief NLP exercise that kind of helps one have fun at life. Because quite often we experience that when we go to any place of business, most people are not happy to be where they are. There's not this overall, they're not radiating, just this glow, this, today's another good day at Mickey D's.
Oh no.
And so a lot of us are in a situation where we're in a place because we just it just pays the bills, which is natural.
That's true.
I remember there's a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad that I read probably about close to 20 years ago. And one of the principles that Robert Kiyosaki spoke about was that a person should do what is necessary to get by as far as paying bills, but they should have something else on the side, and that something else on the side should be able to give them enough freedom years from that point so that they can develop financial freedom, right? And
Like a side hustle?
like a side hustle, and so this was one of the ideas that Robert Kiyosaki mentioned, and I always thought that's a really good idea, because a lot of times we think in life, in order to be happy, we can't work somewhere, we can't have a job, we should be independent, we should be self-employed, and there is freedom in that. However, a lot of people aren't built for a self-employed life because there's a lot of responsibility in times like that. So, getting back on topic, we find that most people in society are not having fun. They're just not. They're not happy.
That's true.
And you see from the road rage incidents that happen all the time. I can't tell you how many people flip me off on the road. And to be honest, and to be transparent, so of course sometimes I could, use my blinker faster, or I could,
Just plan ahead. You know. I'm not saying you. In general, one knows that they're going to make a change of lane, or their exit is coming up. Turn that blinker on. Make sure your stuff is clear. Change your lane. But some people, they jump right over.
I've done it.
You did it. Yeah.
So I see, and these are little small things. These aren't me turning in front of somebody like at the gas station and them going 40, and I'm just turning out the corner and they have to hit their brakes. That's not me. I'm not that guy that does that stuff. Just FYI. But I see how wired on edge people are.
Yeah.
Because nobody's truly happy in their life. So many things that are happening in which people are just, the fuse is short. It's just 1 second. They snap.
They're on the edge.
Don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
Try not to lose my head.
And so all these people that are at the edge of their sanity are at that point because they do not know how to get from life, but instead they're getting through life.
Oh, that's a good way of putting it.
And it is this concept of getting from life that a lot of people, if they had the ability to do, to get from instead of through, then they would find the situations that they're in much more meaningful. And it would not be this situation in which this bad thing happened and therefore this is who I am, but this bad thing, this unfortunate thing happened, but it gave me a different perspective. So, case in point, and I'll throw all the shade on Greenwood Chamber because I can do that now, and I would have did it before. So I was going through a legal situation with the chamber, Greenwood Chamber, and they were not being so understanding and professional, and so I, of course, had to get professionals in to handle those things in which I could not, I didn't know how to do myself. And so, fast forwarding, the chamber was like, hey, you got to move out. If you don't have this done by a certain day, you got to go. And so I had, two businesses, one, my insurance agency, and the other, rental space. And that difficult situation that I experienced with the chamber encouraged me to look outside of the chamber, and which probably I would have never done because there's a lot of pride on being on Greenwood. It's a historical place, and this is once an epic center of just Black excellence. So it was that experience, knowing, okay, I can't stay here because I don't want to be where I'm not wanted. And that's a lot of times where we're not happy. We're at a place where we're not wanted, which happens. And so I had to look outside, and I found this place, which is even better. And so instead of being bitter about, oh, they did this to me, they did that to me, looking at that situation, I'm like, actually, this was the best thing that could have happened. Of course, would I have liked to have been a little more, less costly on my pockets, because of legal fees? Yeah, but it was worth the hassle. Long in the long run. Right. And so having this this opportunity to get from instead of through, really, even in previous relationships, allowed on the back end for me to see some of the stuff I did that. I was responsible for that. And therefore, because of my level of responsibility, this person reacted in this way. And I wasn't as innocent as I thought I was. And so looking at my recalling the scenario and being honest with myself, I was able to see, oh, okay, so this is what I experienced, or this is what I put somebody else through. Right. Therefore, this is how they responded. So for me to be angry at somebody for doing X, Y, Z to me, knowing that I did something that was also not favorable to them,
you contributed to the.
I can see. Oh, so the situation wasn't as bad. I mean, it may not have been ideal, but it wasn't it was beneficial for me to see, one, that I have value in this area, or that my time is best spent somewhere else, or because a lot of times we stay in a place in which feels comfortable because it's familiar.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
And because it's comfortable and familiar, it may not be ideally best for one's peace of mind, but because it is something somebody's used to, they'll stay.
Right, right.
And so being able to say, okay, removing oneself from the situation and saying, yes, this was actually meant for my well-being. And it takes us to be able to, at that moment, in that experience, know whatever's happening is happening for my ultimate high
success, growth,
yes, elevation. Yeah,
elevation. Yes.
And so it is in those moments where we can develop happiness, because we know, whether it seems ideal or not so ideal, that it is ultimately the best thing for us at the moment. And it is having that perspective that allows us to be happy.
Right.
And simultaneously, while having that perspective, I should say, there's that other element of doing those things in life which enthuse us, which motivate us on our own accord, and not at the impetus of something else. Because you see how a lot of inventors of different things will spend countless hours doing something, like tinkering with something, because the passion is there. Right?
Right.
I think about I think about the story of Albert Einstein. Not Albert Einstein. What's his name? Thomas Jefferson?
Edison.
That's East Side education for you. All right, Thomas Edison. And so we see how Thomas, old Tommy, because he had this idea that maybe I can turn light, or maybe I can use convert energy into light. And it was after, and I believe he had help from, I don't know, I'm not even trying to guess the other name, but I believe he had some helps with the attempt to create light, but it took several hundred, if not thousands of attempts to create light. But it was this fascination, being fascinated, being intrigued, being self-motivated, that allows people to do what others would not do because they are having fun.
Yeah. It's interesting. On that note.
Yes.
Forgot to turn that down. I was just, when you were speaking, I was thinking of different, what were considered at the time accidental discoveries that actually benefits everybody in the long run. Like, for example, and you have to forgive me on the specific details, but there was like some farmer, like I can't remember the exact year, but it was a long time ago. This farmer ended up creating an electron gun. Now that sounds weird and strange. It's like an electron gun. What is this all about, you know? And I can't remember exactly what he was trying to originally do, you know. But because he came across that allowed for things such as, you know, you have like your ink printers for a computer, and how it shoots little electrons that holds on to a little blob of ink, and you have a laser jet ink printer, you know, stuff like that. So you get certain things that we've come across later where, again, you may have televisions, you may have ink printers, but it was not the original focus. You know what I mean? It was just something that came out as a byproduct of someone who was tinkering with something completely different, just like chocolate chip cookies. No one was thinking about, hey, I'm going to make chocolate chip cookies and I'm going to be the first one to do it. It just so happened that some chocolate chips accidentally fell into the cookie batter. They were trying to do something else. They were trying to make shortbread cookies or, you know, something else, and it happened to have an extra ingredient fall into the batter, and it just worked out, you know. And how so many people benefit from that. So I was just thinking about unique situations like that, you know, where people are doing what they love and other things come from those things that they love, that so many of us benefit from those today. But I want to roll back to something that you were mentioning earlier about noticing how something good coming from either a situation that appeared, especially at the time, to be not a good situation, but being able to see the bright side of a situation.
Sunny side up.
So when you mentioned that, I was thinking about a comment that was made maybe 4 sessions ago, 4 flexes ago. Someone had mentioned about when we focus on negative situations, meaning we're not able to see any positivity or the bright side of a situation. We just completely fixated on this, what appeared to be a bad situation or a bad experience. And the comment was, in short, you know, that we're just hardwired like that. And I was thinking how it takes some maturity, and just being humble enough and open enough to receive, a different perspective, you know, to be able to look at something from a different perspective. It requires so much, again, maturity, because otherwise if we think, you know, that I have it figured out and that this is just a bad situation and I cannot make any improvements, and that this is, in short, this is the only mental map I'm going to have, that I cannot update or improve or anything, and this, I'm just hardwired this way, then yeah, we will not see any happiness. We will not have any fulfillment in life, because we're just so, we allow ourselves to be consumed by negative thoughts or by what appear to be negative situations. And another thing that came to my mind, I was thinking of so for a few weeks, I've been actually focusing or reflecting on different things that have happened recently, in the sense of marriage, you know, things of that nature. And I was discussing some things with someone, and I was looking at this and that, and I caught myself noticing or kind of getting fixed on like, that was a upsetting, trying to be a little more mindful of my emotions and feelings, instead of just trying to bury things, or hide things. And so I was looking at a few different things, and someone shared. I'm sorry, I'm sorry for being vague without going into too much detail, but having someone point out something from a different perspective and looking at the same situation from that comical perspective, it really gave me a sense of freedom. Like I felt not burdened or heavy or weighed down from what appeared to be a negative or bad experience, and seeing it from a more of a positive, as a learning experience, it literally took the weight off my shoulders, made me feel like a new person, in short. And I was just thinking how, it really does take some effort on one's part. If one wants to make improvement, one has to have or invest in themselves in some way, shape, or form for their own growth in order to, break out of this idea of being hardwired a certain way, because it's true. There is always something positive in every situation. Whether we realize it or not is a different story, but there's always some bright side, a learning experience, an opportunity for growth in every situation that we come across in life. And so that's what I was thinking about when you were mentioning this aspect, how you were able to see the positive, the bright side of that situation, and being able to move here to this location.
And also to that, and I think it kind of ties into what we spoke about a couple weeks ago, is the ability to want to learn also adds to our happiness. Because those that are open to learning, that are excited about learning, will see even something that may appear difficult, and they'll see, okay, but I learned this through the process. Like for example, there's been many trial and errors that to get even this setup, from the having a stand to having microphones, making sure they were charged, and all these other things. But it's like, things you thought you would have kept in mind, you don't until you're confronted with an experience that allows you to think, I'll be more prepared, or maybe I'll do this a little differently next time.
Right.
And that way, it makes whatever I'm going to do easier. And so it's that ability to, one, see the silver lining, or to be able to add perspective to learn, that allows for one to really be happy.
Yeah.
Because it's directly those people who have stopped learning, who have no interest in developing any new skill. Those are the people that are not happy.
Yeah. Jim Rohn speaks of that, and he says that one has to have childlike curiosity and ask why. Even if you're on an airplane and for whatever reason the airplane is delayed. I remember when I was flying from here to Cleveland, and the flight was supposed to have left at like 5 in the morning, and it didn't leave until 10 a.m. And I'm there at the airport for 5 hours. And of course, that could be frustrating for anybody, because you're like, hey, I have these things planned at certain times, events and activities. And it's like, you know what? Take a Jim Rohn moment and just have this childlike curiosity. I wonder why did it not work out that way? Just to be curious about something. Because again, if we allow our minds to be closed, if we don't have that curiosity, we're not open to the idea of learning, then yeah, you're right, we become stagnant. and we don't experience the happiness that is truly there around us.
When you mentioned stagnant, I was thinking about when there's no moving water, then there's all these different things that come about. Moss?
Mosquitoes, they like to breed in stagnant water. And with many mosquitoes, depending on the situation, then there could be disease there. So yeah, stagnant water, better to have moving water.
And that's really powerful too, because you think about what are the mentality of individuals who are now in their prime or a little past their prime, who have not learned, who have stopped their learning process as a teenager. They're like, in one sense, mosquitoes in society, taking from other people's happiness, sucking other people's happiness out.
More
because,
like a vampire.
Like a vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're just sucking everyone else's happiness because they themselves aren't moving, and they don't like to appear to be stagnant and not moving. And so if they see someone that's advancing beyond them, they're in some way, shape, or form try to chop them down and zap their enthusiasm and their excitement in some way, shape, or form. So that it's like crabs in a barrel. You know, when one crab is trying to get out, the others that aren't making much effort try to pull that other person down.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate because you would think in society and communities and so forth, even if it's just a small community, if we can help each other progress, so if we're doing our part individually and then collectively as a team, we're working together, that means that's a win-win situation for everybody. No one is a loser. But when there is this envy, or if there is this mentality of, who do you think you are? You think you're better than me, or whatever that may be. And then that crab in a barrel mentality where, one or more are pulling down those who are trying to advance and progress, then no one is a winner. Maybe except for those who actually are able to get out, but you end up having more losers.
Yeah.
And more miserable people because, again, misery loves company.
Yeah. Yeah, and those mosquito-like or vampire-like people are satisfied when they've drunken the happiness out of others.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
to the last drop. Not to the last drop. They can't take the last drop. I can't remember the reason why, but they suck you dry up to the point of death, to the brink of death.
And so it is. But it's because that they're not flowing in life.
Yeah.
They're as you mentioned, there's that stagnant aspect that is a lot of people in society and around this world are stagnant, and it is that element that is really debilitating.
But sometimes there's, and you mentioned this before, and I want to tie it into this. There's that fear, because again, tied in even to of not wanting to learn. So that fear of, there's change. I've become so comfortable in my position or where I'm at. Now that there's change, now what is my position? Is it now that I'm at the bottom of the totem pole now, or whatever it may be? And it's really unfortunate. I was having a conversation with my mother the other day in regards to when you have a team, and on the team, obviously, it could be a sports team. It doesn't matter. It could be a team at the office, but when you have someone in a leadership position, management or so, and they're open to hearing the feedback, and again, it's constructive criticism, like how can we, improve things here? And when there's that openness and everyone is sharing and contributing, and management is like, okay, now that we may have to look through this a little bit deeper to see how we can make this possible. Okay, let's take a look at that. Let's see what's pressing, what we can do now, and what can be done, as we go through phases, of making improvements and so forth. And when there's like that openness and the team is like working together so nicely, I mean, everyone wins, like the whole team wins. We see that with, again, those teams that win championships, is because everyone is really like in tune to each other. Everyone respects each other. Everyone has a voice, and so even though you may have someone in a higher position, the team captain or whatever it may be, but everyone, again, is working for the improvement and betterment of the team, of the company, and so forth. Or it could be even in a family. You may have someone in the head of the household position, and if the person in the head of the household position is not open to hear, how things can be improved within the home from the spouse, from the children. Of course, not every children knows what's best, but you know what I mean. Just having that open communication and so forth, then things don't. If they're not willing to listen, things don't improve that well in the family. But when there's that openness, lines of communication are there, then everyone benefits. It's a win-win situation. Again, not only for the captain or the person that had a household, but again, everyone is uplifted. But if there is, again, that fear that, I lose my position, or fear that I'm not considered useful or important anymore, let me just hold on to this as long as I can. And if anyone, like Indra, as we see in the Vedas, he wants to hold on to his position. And in the Vedas, there's one personality, the king of heaven, Indra. And so if anyone tries to do anything to make any improvements in their own life or doing any austerities or whatever, he feels as though his position is threatened. That fear. So he does or is being compromised. Yeah. So he will do anything he can to disrupt the efforts of those who are trying to make self-improvement, because he doesn't want his position to be compromised. And so when one has fear that their position will be compromised, then how can that person really be happy if one is living in fear all the time? It's one of the aspects of being a conditioned being. We talk about cheating propensity, imperfect senses and so forth, and mating and fearing, living in fear, and that aspect of not knowing, uncertainty, being stagnant, fearing. No, there's no happiness and no fulfillment at all in one's life. They miss out.
Yeah.
They miss out tremendously,
Yeah, and I think about if we look at anybody that is truly at peace or truly happy, because you can't have happiness without peace. And so if anyone is not at all at peace with situations as they happen, and as we mentioned, able to get from instead of through, then the search for happiness will always continue. We will, without being able to know how happiness looks, then we'll consistently be frustrated in our attempts to develop happiness. But it is, a lot of times we must have a goal. We must have some type of goal that is worth the inconvenience of whatever we may experience. And so those inventors, those builders of any company have some type of goal.
Yes.
And for the most part, those that are really successful were so childlike in their attempts to build, that despite the countless things that could come up in efforts to build something with value, it was totally worth it.
Yeah.
You ask any, what to speak of any parent, that child, seeing them in full maturity and successful in life, they'll do it again despite how many times they had to wake up in the morning, or not wake up or not go to sleep.
The austerities that come with, trying to obtain and achieve a goal. Yeah, you would do it again.
Yeah.
You would do it again because it was worth it.
Because it was worth it. And joyfully performed.
Susukum kartum avyayam.
Yes.
Joyfully performed. And increases in pleasure.
And so
Sanskrit, sorry.
So it is this being able to have a sufficient and enthusiastic goal that will allow us to say, you know what, I'd do that again. Yes, I experienced difficulty, but it's okay. Yeah. Because I'm a different person because of that.
It's the journey.
It's the journey.
Yeah, it's all about the journey. And that's why so many people like putting goals in front of them. In my mind, I was thinking of one person someone in our Sunday group, I think he knows this person, but I can't remember that story in great detail, but I'll just continue with what I was thinking about initially was, we can put forth a goal in front of us, and we'll, if we're sincere, we'll actually obtain that goal. But you see that same person will put another goal in front of them, constantly putting a goal in front of them. Goals that may not necessarily be completely out of reach, but just enough to take them out of their comfort zone, to take them beyond complacency, and to push and enthuse them to actually try to achieve and obtain something. And when you speak to those individuals that are always putting forth another goal, a new and exciting goal, you always hear them talk about the adventure in itself, because they become a better person throughout the whole entire process. If we were to even step back and look at, in general, you'll hear how some people will make, in regards to their spiritual practice, different pilgrimages or pilgrimage to different places. It could be Mecca, it could be Jerusalem, it could be, wherever, their faith headquarters, for lack of better words, or, has a very significant place. And the walk to that sacred place of pilgrimage, what's so beautiful about it is, yes, they're going to get to their destination, but that walk itself, that austerity, that willingness to perform that which is difficult, in Sanskrit they call a tapasya, or an austerity, making that sacrifice, it's so purifying, it's so cleansing, that when you finally reach where you're supposed to, now you're ready. Because we were talking about weeks back about graduating and the metamorphosis of a caterpillar into a butterfly. How the butterfly told the caterpillar, you're supposed to grow. I command you to grow. C.T. Fletcher. Shout out to C.T. Fletcher. But how when we are moving and growing, it is the most wonderful experience that anyone can have, that they would do it again, simply because of the fact that they become a better person throughout the entire journey, throughout the process. It makes me think of, and I do apologize if I'm pointing out different personalities' names. There was a recent festival called Radhastami. And on the foot of Radharani is an elephant gold, like an elephant prod. And the reason why that symbol or marking is there is because her mood is always to enthuse others in their spiritual journey. And I was thinking as we were talking, how can one enthuse others in life? How can one enthuse others in any aspect of, it could be, enthusing someone to take their marriage to another level, enthuse someone to take, when they're working, to set goals for themselves, how they can become even more productive in work, in other areas of their life, how one can, be enthused and encouraged and nurtured, poured into, because when I think about it, it's like if one is tasting something sweet, like a bee who is a scout bee will find a flower that is emitting such a wonderful fragrance, and the nectar is so sweet that when he comes back to the hive, he cannot help but to dance. Every bee has a unique dance that says, "Hey, everybody, the water's fine. Come on in."
Yeah.
And so through that dance, through that enthusiasm of that one bee, that the other bees become enthused. And they're like, "Yo, let's all go out and get flowers. Let's collect pollen, like this." So I was just thinking, as an individual, how to enthuse others so that, we're not the only ones tasting the nectar, for a lack of better words, so that others can experience the nectar of devotion or the nectar of life, the sweetness of life, because life is beautiful and it is so amazing and so exciting. I'll just very briefly mention that for those of you that know me, I love music. I just love music. But with the most recent bundle of joy in our community, I felt enthused to pull out my saxophone and do a little something, because I felt enthused that we have a little niece that's like, I want to be the best uncle that I can be. So she is enthusing me with her presence. She didn't have to say anything. She smiled that one day.
Did you get a wink too?
I don't know about the wink part, but I know she smiled when I called her out, though. I was like, because she's growing, and so I was like, "Oh, you trying to get thick for them boys?" And she just smiled. Like Uncle Jugal called me out.
Oh man.
So I'm just thinking of those unique, special, wonderful experiences that are there that enthuse, doesn't matter how big or how small, but they can be such a spark, just the right catalyst to set off other, exciting adventures, to enthuse like that, so how to enthuse others, but you can't give that if you don't have something.
You mentioned a really spot on point about the bee, and I was thinking the bee is good at finding a flower, that where they can pollinate or
and collect pollen.
Collect pollen.
Yeah. They end up accomplishing a lot, actually.
Yeah. But you very seldom see bees around trash.
Or on stool.
Or on stool. Yeah.
Like a fly over there, like.
That's a fresh diaper, I see.
Look at that diaper. Boy, look at that diaper. And I like big diapers and I cannot lie. Okay, I'm sorry.
But you see the bees, they bypass the trash. Mm-hmm. They go straight to that which helps them create honey. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so it's those bee-like individuals that we should be like, that help us, or that really are able to see the sweetness in life. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's those fly-like people, fly guys, that they are constantly into drama or into.
They love crap.
They love it all. They love it all. And they prefer it. They're planning. They're always planning. When will this garbage be ready?
The fresher, the better.
And so, but the thing about the bees also is that the bees are around other bees that have the same mentality.
Yeah.
They have the same mentality, and they're also turning that which has value into sweetness.
Yes, that is so beautiful.
It's beyond myself.
I'm almost bewildered by the possibilities. It's so great to be a human being.
It says be positive.
Be positive.
So it is that ability that the bees have that allow them to see the sweetness and to give sweetness to others. And so by us developing that bee-like mentality, we can also give sweetness to others.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And by giving sweetness to others, we become happy. And I know we're coming close to the end of our time, but I want to talk about an exercise in which NLP mentions. And I won't go so deep into the exercise, but I'll just give us.
I'm not going to see it.
But I'll just give a brief synopsis. So in the book NLP, it explains how one would create their own autobiography and how it would sound to others. Similar to how somebody would like to be eulogized. And
continue.
And
yes.
So it is at our most, well, if people believe in afterlife, in our most compromised position, we are thinking, after we end our life and we're at our own funeral and we're listening to what people say about us, how they really felt. And it is that in a lot of exercises now, people say, how would you want people to explain your life?
Yeah.
Or
wow.
Talk about your life.
That is so powerful.
And it is that which motivates one to make considerable change now. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, you were going to say something.
No, when you were speaking, it just reminded me of like on Friday nights or maybe on Saturday nights, we used to watch Tales from the Crypt. And so then they made a movie called Tales from the Hood. And they did that with a few like guys who thought they were gangsters or thugs, whatever like that, so that they could see their life and what they've gone through and how they would end up suffering in hell or whatever it may be. And I was just thinking, beyond that, sometimes people may leave a physical legacy, meaning maybe they established different organizations, left a certain amount of money for different charitable causes. But we also, regardless of how much money or paraphernalia one has, we can still leave a legacy in the minds of others in terms of how we educate and share what we know and have learned, and to be such a positive role model influence in the lives of another person, to the point where that person thinks positively, beautiful thoughts about us, opposed to, man, I'm glad that dude is gone, and that's like horrible. If someone thinks or feels that way,
Good
like
riddance.
Right. About time,
I was waiting for them to croak.
Ding dong, the witch is dead. Wow, to have such an experience like that, I would not want to experience something like that.
Be devastated. You want to come back just so you can make it right. It's like this is why it goes around. Like, you hear my eulogy? I'm coming back. I'm trying to fix this. There's
a more easier movie to recall. It's
Scrooge.
Yeah, Ebenezer Scrooge. Exactly. Christmas Carol, something like this. Perfect example. When he saw everything from the Christmas past, Christmas presents, and then of course Christmas future, and he realized that, wow, I am not a nice person. Let me make some changes. And then he started to have a fulfilling life.
He was happy.
Yeah, because he started thinking about his own childhood, but then there was some things that has happened in his childhood, some trauma, you can say, that he carried, and he didn't realize he was carrying that baggage on his shoulders. He was bearing a cross, but it was something that he could not, handle, and how it affected him. And then those different personalities, Christmas past, present, future, and then how he realized that, wow, you know what? I don't have to be like this. The Nutty Professor, I can change. Yes, I can. So, yeah, that's something. If you're not familiar with Christmas Carol, I would say definitely take a look at it. Ebenezer Scrooge. I can't remember. Was it Charles Dickens? I can't remember who exactly wrote that, but But definitely take a look at that, and hopefully it'll make more sense in terms of what I'm saying about, or what you're describing regarding one's own personal autobiography. And how, because that's exactly what they did in the movie. He got a chance to see, and people were like, "Wow, I'm glad he's gone." Right. They literally did that.
Yeah.
So what you were describing there, it's NLP was being displayed by Charles Dickens back in the day.
And we think about like how it would be if someone that we thought loved us really felt, that they didn't like us at all.
Oh, that hurts.
How much that would pain.
That hurts.
And those individuals who can be present, can be introspective, can be compassionate, that can learn, that can extract value from a difficult situation and turn it sweet. The B people. It makes our journey in life easier. And it's not about a facade, because we see facades all the time on social media.
It's a masquerade party.
I remember you telling about the one young lady in Kansas City, I believe, that she appeared as this, very
youthful and angelic individual. But then, I won't go into all the exact details, but I called her bluff. The truth was revealed. And her voice went from this to this. And she finally, womaned up, you can say. But yeah.
I was listening to a class, and I'll wrap up here. I was listening to a class yesterday, and was talking about sometimes people could speak many languages, multiple languages. Mm-hmm. And it said when they get startled out of their sleep, they'll speak in their original language. And so it was mentioned that when push comes to shove, our level of growth is displayed at the time of difficulty. Mm-hmm. So whatever we may seem like we're happy and all this other stuff, right, but until we get to that level of test, then we can see where we really are.
Yeah.
And it's no longer a facade now. It's like, are you really that way, or is this a show?
Yeah.
And so it is, of course, being in a position where we can be honest, but we want to walk the walk.
And chew bubblegum at the same time.
And chew bubblegum at the same time. Walk the walk and talk the talk. Yeah. Because just acting one way, but not developing the nature and the inherent qualities within that personality, right, are not sufficient. One has to be able to know theoretically and practically, and be able to develop those qualities. Because if not, then we can say we're happy, but when it comes down to it,
we're not. Yeah. Cheating others, and we're cheating ourselves.
Yeah, we are more like flies than we are bees. Mm-hmm. And it is this, we should definitely be honest with ourselves. It's like your mom said, the objective of the movie Christmas Carol was, if you saw your future self, would you change your present behavior? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
And we should, observing how people respond to us should help us develop a better behavior.
Yes. That was beautiful, Keith. It was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for your time. Thanks for being part of the Friday Flex. Thanks for flexing with us. Until next week, we'll talk to you later. All right.